Welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, I have none other than Craig Kaufman from AbleGamers joining me. He's Craigums on Twitter, and he is here to talk a lot about accessibility with me and with Sea of Thieves and games in general, but we also have Ships of Fortune to talk about. And man, this update has been amazing. I've absolutely loved it. I think it's an entire game changer. Every one of the concerns that I had about what was going on before we knew like how things were going to play out, totally blown over. The update is awesome. I actually really enjoy going out on the seas with my friends. It's to the point now where there are so many of us kind of going out and trying to sail at the same time that we're actually working on trying to get multiple ships on one server just so that we can work on stuff. When it's just one of us, we tend to jump on and do Reapers and stuff. But to answer the question that I'm sure a lot of you have is, what's my favorite emissary right now? And I'm having a tough time with that because for a long time I was pushing myself towards Merchant Alliance. And while I still enjoy Merchant Alliance, I've had a lot of fun doing Athena's Fortune as well. But by far, Reaper's Bones has been the one that I've spent the most time with, working with a couple of my friends on crews at nights and going out and sinking ships and stealing flags. I've managed to get up to rank 40 with the Reaper's hull or with the Reaper's Bones, where all the other ones are far lower base of reputation gain, I guess. I don't know how to put that, but you guys know what I'm talking about, so I'm not going to belabor the point. Regardless, I've been having a blast with this, and I wanted to get that out in front because I know it's probably what you're thinking about, because it's what I've been thinking about. Regardless, I've had an amazing time on the seas. The one caveat that I will talk about that I don't think that we covered in the interview with Craig was Reaper's Bones earning reputation off of any gold. We did talk a little bit about that, and I share my thoughts, but I do think that maybe we're earning rep with the Reaper's Bones a little too quickly. I can get within a week up to 40, and I'm not even playing that heavily. I'm playing maybe 3 or 4 hours a night, a few nights out of the week, and then the weekend. But it seemed like it came pretty quickly, but God, there's so much I want to talk about. A lot of it we covered. A lot of it's our experiences with the update. So I'm going to get to that. Again, thank you, Craig. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for bringing AbleGamers to the podcast. I look forward to trying to work on doing some charities with AbleGamers or Special Effect or St. Jude's. Actually, before I forget, this coming May, I believe it's 2nd, which is a Saturday, St. Jude's Freyline hit me up and said, hey, we are doing a Sea of Thieves St. Jude's charity. It's got 3 different groups, the Hearts of Gold, the L'Arche de Grog Sea of Thieves group, and the Sea of Fashions. We're all going to be working together to do the first Sea of Thieves, well, maybe not the first, but the first one that I've done where it's going to be for charity, a fashion event in Sea of Thieves. So that's going to be May 2nd, probably, I think, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 5 p.m. GMT. Should be about 2.5 hours. This all got kind of situated like fairly recently, so that's probably why we didn't talk about it in the actual interview, but I wanted to make sure to get ahead of you to let you know about that going on next weekend, next Saturday. So be sure to tune in on Twitch. Check out Twitter at Freyline. Check out my tweets. I've been tweeting about that as well too. Get in there so that you can come check out that. We've got rare employees who are joining us. We've got community members who are joining us. We're going to be giving away some codes as well. There's going to be some giveaways for the community while you actually get to check it out too. So we're all going to be having some fun doing some fashion stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. So again, May 2nd, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard, 12 p.m. EDT, 5 p.m. GMT, about 2.5 hours long. Check Twitter for links to the Twitch channels that are going to be streaming it, and I will see you all there. Bring your best clothes. I love you. Pretty much, I wanted to bring you on the show for a lot of reasons, but I kind of wanted to preface all of this because I know you just recently had surgery on your neck, so your voice is going to be limited to an extent. I don't want to push you too hard, so if there's at any point that you feel like it's getting too tough, just let me know, and we can kind of taper off, and I can finish up what I need to. But for the most part, I wanted to bring you on because I was been following you for quite a while. It feels like I feel like I've been kind of keeping an eye on the stuff that you do on Twitter and whatnot for some time now, but you are actually one of the creative leads or in producers, if I'm remembering correctly, over at AbleGamers. Is that fair to say?
So I'm the program director, but I get to do a lot of like the community outreach as well as like industry, talking to developers and stuff. The team has expanded now, so we have like a developer relations person that does research. So they're doing things, and I kind of get to connect people to everyone and do all sorts of fun stuff within the industry and within the community side of AbleGamers.
That's awesome. So, and if people don't know who AbleGamers is, you're a an outreach group, foundation that's been designed to try and create opportunities for folks with disabilities to be able to play games. It's like the main driving goal. So AbleGamers is like the US version of Special Effect, who has had a lot of support from Rare recently, with Twitch, no, not with Twitch, with the charity sales that they got, as well as just having you guys basically have you're as far as I know, you're based outside or based in Washington, but you have outreach groups in different things, which you guys call expansion packs. Is that right?
So the AbleGamers charity, the way we operate, we're based out of Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, so like right outside of DC.
Oh, okay.
But there's a few of us all over. Well, I guess now we have someone in Canada, so we're kind of international now. As a team, like our local team, but we kind of we help out people all over the world. So if people need like controllers, we have a grant process. If someone needs to figure out what they need, they can reach out to our peer counseling team. They'll work one-on-one with players, figure out what they need, and if they need financial assistance on buying those controllers, they'll work with them to get those. They'll be able to send the controllers out to people. Our expansion pack program is actually one where we kind of do what we do with grants, except like, it's like individual controller grants, except it's on the hospital level. So we'll go into a hospital and we'll bring all of our accessible equipment and we'll turn a room of the hospital into like a game room filled with like controllers and systems and usually a bunch of like video game related toys and stuff. And we're able to basically make a fun game room that just lives there forever. So our expansion pack program and our peer counseling team kind of work together to help players get the controllers they need.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's actually really, really cool. And how long have you been doing this? You've been working with AbleGamers for a while, right?
Yeah. I am on, I think, 9.5 years ish, depending on how you count where I started. I originally started as I actually had a shoulder problem that I don't know if it was related to my current situation, but it ended up where I had a shoulder problem and I ended up having to. I wanted to help. Actually, it goes further back from that. So I started with AbleGamers about 9 years ago when I was running a video game store, and
Oh wow.
I took over a game store in Hermitage, Pennsylvania. So I moved like 2 hours from where I lived, ran a game store. And my first week there, I had a family came in and the dad came up to the counter in tears with his son. And they said, we were in a car accident. My son had a traumatic brain injury. What games can he play? And I was like 20 at the time, and I never really thought about it, right? This isn't something I was thinking about. I was just trying to push pre-orders and all that stuff. So I said, I actually have no idea. Give me 3 days, come back, I'll find you answers. I was able to connect that family with AbleGamers, Mark and Steve from AbleGamers, and they were able to help them figure out what games the child would be able to play. And that was cool. I was like, wow, that's great. AbleGamers. It was cool that they were able to help out that family. About a year later, I had a shoulder problem that I don't know if it's related to my current one now, but I couldn't move my arm, and I had pain basically from my neck down to my arm. My right arm couldn't move at all, or my neck couldn't move. It was like, it was all kind of locked up. The muscles kind of didn't work out well. And I realized how important AbleGamers was. This is when I was still outside, and I said, hey, I want to run a charity stream for you guys. And this was before Twitch even existed. This was before like Tiltify and all the sites that take donations really existed. So Mark was like, what do you want? Or how do you do that? And I say, just give me a PayPal email. And that weekend we played Gears of War, raised $150. And Mark sent me an email that said they were able to buy a controller. And I kind of have helped out since. I started out as a volunteer for the first 5 or 6 years. And then as things progressed, now it's where I work.
That's so cool, man. And you bring up a real important thing that I think is really kind of there's something about AbleGamers and Special Effect that I absolutely love, and it's that you guys are driven to help anyone that might have a disability, and not in the sense that this is something that someone is born with, but something that could happen to anyone. You could get in a car accident. You could just have a problem with your muscles. You could be born with cerebral palsy. It doesn't matter. There's not any qualifier, because something that I think a lot of people forget about with disability and playing games is that it could happen to anyone at any time, and it's going to be different for everyone. It's something that you really have no control over. And one of the things that really kind of has started to push me in this direction is something, because I never thought about this. I've only ever had vision impairment. That's the only problem I've ever run into with playing games, is I have to be fairly close to what I'm playing with to be able to see it with my glasses, and that's the only thing I have to overcome. But at any given time, my vision could get a lot worse, and that vision is just, it's by chance. It's just pure genetics at this point. So if I'm not careful, if I don't take care of my eyes, then there's a good chance I might lose that vision. And it's nice to know that there are a lot of people, not necessarily as many as there probably should be, because it still feels like a something that's been only in the last maybe 15, 20 years that, from what I can tell, people have been pushing to get more and more advocacy for. But having people who are out there trying to help others continue to play games as a method of escape or enjoyment or entertainment, is a way for them to connect with others with stories and having common goals is really important as a society, I think, at least to try and make sure that we are able to connect with each other. Not everyone can go out and play basketball or football. Not everyone can go out and, swim laps, or not everyone can go hiking or do yoga classes or Zumba. But a lot of us who are probably listening to this enjoy games. But there's definitely a good group of people who don't get to enjoy games the same way that everyone else gets to enjoy games. And it's harder for them, whether it's color blindness or vision impairment or a physical disability. Even a cognitive one, sometimes you just aren't as quick as you want to be, and there's a disconnect between your body and your mind, and that can be frustrating as a gamer who you play games that rely a lot on that. So having you come onto the show, I wanted to kind of give you the floor. If there's something that you wanted to kind of bring up that speaks personally to you, or speaks to what you hope for with this industry, because I know with Rare, they have been very, very active, very proactive about trying to get as much accessibility built into Sea of Thieves as possible. And I see that with other games as well. But are there any stories or anything that you wanted to share as far as what your goal is, or some of the things that you wanted to bring to light?
I don't want to take up too much time talking about a lot of things. But yeah, it's interesting watching the industry kind of evolve, because when I started doing this like 10 years ago, I was getting emails back from developers saying like, this isn't important to us, or, we don't really have the time to include this. And it's been interesting to watch the industry change. I know like AbleGamers, we used to do a game of the year. And, it was like, if a game had a colorblind mode, that was like a big story back 10 years ago. And now, these options are becoming standard, which is great. Like if a game doesn't have a colorblind mode, now everyone notices,
Mm-hmm.
So as all of these settings become standard, it's great. And like, as the industry moves forward, we've seen things like the adaptive controller, and how a lot of like the studios now are making it part of their culture. Like the Coalition did a really good job with Gears. You've got, the Uncharted series, Naughty Dog does great. You've got Sea of Thieves, obviously, but I know we're going to talk about that a bunch. But Sea of Thieves is doing great, and they're just always updating and adding more features, which is great to see it against, across the industry, to see, it's not just Microsoft, it's not just PlayStation, it's not just EA. It's kind of an evolution where all of these companies are trying to make it a more accessible experience, which just means that we have more players in a community, which is cool. So that's kind of really the end goal, is we just want to make sure that everyone has access and has the ability to play. And as you were saying, there's cognitive disabilities, there's physical disabilities. And AbleGamers, we made our motto, so everyone can game. So what we do is we go and we try to make sure that we're supportive for everyone trying to play. So, whether it's handing out or helping someone find a controller they need for physical disabilities, or working with developers to find ways to help their game be more accessible to players that have cognitive disabilities or visual disabilities. That's our main thing. So we actually launched accessible.games, is where you could go to find like design patterns based on, how to include players with disabilities. We launched that recently with our player panels. We have like 600 players with disabilities across the world that help give us feedback. And we kind of take all of that, work with developers, share the info, connect some of our player panels to developers. We basically do anything we can to make sure that there's more accessible options being pushed into games and making the industry more accessible to everyone.
Man, it's the one thing that I've noticed in kind of growing up with games. It always felt like this was always on the back burner. It never really affected me, so I never thought about it. And the more and more I learn about it, and the more I grow my social ring to have people in it that are advocates for accessibility, I start to realize just how much work is being put into the industry across the board. But I really have to say that I've been moved and impressed by Microsoft in this aspect. When I saw the adaptive controller come out, I thought that is an amazing piece of work. Like I never would have expected a company, especially a main company, to put so much engineering and design and effort into building a controller like this, that they are willing to give to any other company. Like they're willing to sell this to any other company and work with them on having it set up for anyone, for any game. I love seeing that other people who are smart enough to know how to play around with these to be able to have these set up for different systems and stuff. And it's amazing. I think I'm blanking. I should have done a little more research on this, but I want to say that there are other peripheral companies out there who are starting to build additional switches and buttons and controllers for the adaptive controller, purely to help support the accessibility with this, to make sure that others can have options, so that Microsoft isn't the sole producer of this. That if a company wants to build something that's close to a DualShock controller, they can license the DualShock controller and start pulling some of the aspects of that controller into peripherals that they can sell third party to the actual adaptive controller. And I hope that they continue to lead on this front. I hope that they kind of show that this is a place where we need to get to as an industry, to make sure that there is a large group of gamers out there that don't have the opportunity to game the way they want, because the industry has left them behind, and it's not fair to them. They didn't ask to be excluded. And I'm hoping that Nintendo picks up the slack. To me, it personally feels like Nintendo has really dropped the ball with accessibility. I don't see them adding functionality. They just recently added the ability at a system level to remap buttons, but it feels like such a half measure, because you not only do you have to remap each individual Joy-Con if you want to, but you have to save it to a profile, and you get 5 profiles. But every time you go to the home screen, whether you wake up the system or you hit the home button when exiting a game that's been in sleep mode, it constantly reminds you that the buttons are remapped, and if you want to continue using the remapped buttons, or if you want to reset them. And I feel like, to me at least, it's a constant reminder. It's like, hey, by the way, you did this thing, and even though you should be used to it because you set it up that way, we're going to constantly remind you that this isn't the natural way of playing our system. And I feel go ahead.
When it comes to button remapping at like the system level, it's a good backup for games that don't include it. But as soon as you get into the game, it throws everything off, because you're like, you want to hit the A button, but you remapped it to B, but the screen says press A. So it's huge that Nintendo put the button remapping in at the system level. But yeah, it is a little bit. It has taken them a little bit longer, because I know PlayStation and Xbox and even the Vita got button remapping native. I think, well, what is it, 2017 and 2018? So
yeah,
it's cool that they're adding it though, because being able to play one-handed with the Joy-Cons is really comfortable for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then just even Nintendo adding these features, all of this stuff going and becoming more of a mainstream topic is awesome. And like you were talking about the switches and all the things that go into the adaptive controller. So the switches are normally really expensive. Like, companies know that they're for people with disabilities, so they jack the prices up because they know people need them, which is a horrible practice, right? So what happened is we actually got to work with Logitech, and I know
that's what it was.
Xbox did some stuff with them where those switches came out, and you get a whole bunch of switches for $100. You get a lot of switches. So I know that you're starting to hear, the Xbox adaptive controller is 100, and then the switches are 100. So you're looking at about 200, plus you need the one-handed Joy-Con is 220. Well, not one-handed Joy-Con. They have a one-handed joystick. But even that, like, some of the switches we were giving out before were $200. So it's very cool to see gaming take accessibility and start, actively running with it, because it's forcing other industries to adapt as well. Because now you can go on Logitech.com and buy, I think it comes with 18 switches. I really should know that, and I'm looking at the box, but I can't read it from here. But it comes with like 18 switches for $100. That's so much more affordable than, the other switches. And there's specialized switches that like are, finger touch, that are more sensitive, that are going to cost more. But like, this gaming bringing on accessibility and focusing on it and making it an initiative is definitely helping outside, because the same things that you plug into the adaptive controller are the same switches that people are already using in their homes to operate other devices. So, if you're already if you have a bunch of devices at your house that you use switches for, you can pay Logitech $100 and get a bunch of them versus, $100 each or $50 each or whatever it is. And it varies per person and it varies per Switch. So, it's all up in the air, but it's just great to have more options and especially more affordable options.
The nice thing about this too is you talked about how the adaptive controller is $100 and the Logitech gaming kit's $100, but you with the buttons that you get for this, for being something that a lot of people probably won't need, it's still surprising that the cost is still, in my mind, that's still fairly affordable for me, especially if it's important that I want to have that. I look at something like the Xbox Series. I just blanked on what's their Elite controller. It's the Elite, right?
Oh, the Elite 2,
Yeah,
I think, is
the Elite 2
controller 2.
$189, I think, is the going MSRP for that. It's up there, but I mean that controller itself is designed to really capitalize on fine refinements with the controllers. But for the most part, you're going into that knowing that you're getting those 4 back pedal buttons on the bottom of the controller. So for me, the cost is right up there. If you're paying for a specialty controller, whether it's independent switches that you get to customize and it's easier to press, or you're paying for an Xbox Series Elite controller, the second series, and that's full refinement for someone who's wants that kind of control and precision. You're going to spend about the same amount as far as I'm concerned, and I think that the cost for the adaptive controller and the gaming kits and stuff, I think that could definitely be brought down. And I'm hoping that with games being able to remap buttons in the future, if having that at a system level and having that available to all the different consoles, especially as we go into this next gaming generation, I'm hoping that more and more companies, like Logitech was who I was thinking of, and I'm glad that you remembered, because I for some reason we were blanking on it. But I hope SteelSeries comes out with this. I hope that Astro comes out with this set. There's Power A could definitely make a line of these switches to kind of help promote some of the games that are being played on the Nintendo Switch using an adaptive controller. There's some great manufacturers out there that are third party that could really help drive down the cost and build up the accessibility of these different switches. And I'm hoping that that's kind of where we move going forward as far as like hardware is concerned. But
a lot of those companies have also made, add-ons that we actually will give out. So, things like the thumb extenders for like joysticks, we give those out all the time because it requires a little bit less movement. SteelSeries at one point was doing like the eye tracking stuff. So at one point it was like the most affordable eye tracker you could get, which worked with games. It's very cool to see, like, there's all these extra little things. So whenever I get to go to like a game store, I always buy like, all the random things that you can plug into a controller and see how they work out. But there's a lot of cool stuff. I know PlayStation made that one that plugs into the bottom and adds like the back buttons as well.
Yeah.
And like, even like something like the Elite controller, those are, to get like a custom controller. So if somebody needed like buttons put on the back, you're usually looking at 150 anyways. And like Evil Controllers is a company that makes a lot of those, and they do a really good job with them. So those controllers or the Elite controller are both great because, at least with like the Elite controller, you can go find it at Walmart if you needed to. You can go buy it on, any website. And just get it instantly versus getting like a more customized approach through like Evil controllers. But we've had it where sometimes a lot of the grants we gave out were just Elite controllers, where we had it where if someone couldn't use like their left hand to use like the joystick, they would play with the joystick in their mouth, control it, move the controller with their right hand, and then we would just map the 2 back buttons, like the left bumper and right bumper, or left bumper and right trigger, to the back of the right side with the Elite controller, and then they have every button they need. So it's been really cool to just finding all of these extra options and figuring out ways to help people play games with them.
Yeah, the Elite controller itself is something that really amazes me, and I've seen some. There's what's his Rocky No Hands. I don't know if you know him on Twitter, if you've seen him play. Yeah. This dude kills at first person shooters. I've seen him play just about anything from Apex to COD to in Warzone and stuff, but he uses a series of straws that are set up to sensors so that he can suck and blow into them to have like zoom and have different switches set to them. And he uses a toggle that he moves with his mouse and stuff. But to watch him play and snipe, like long range snipe, with just hit the setup that he has, is absolutely amazing. He streams and he puts up his videos on YouTube, but it just goes to show that it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what your disability is. If you put in the time and the effort, just like anyone, if you put in the effort, you can do whatever you want. And people like Sightless Combat, he has a set crew that when he goes sailing, he has them use instruments to help guide him on the ship, off the ship, around. He follows the sound of where the instruments are to help give him a sense of space so that he can find the helm. And he gets to be their helmsman and help out on the ship wherever he can. And for someone who doesn't have vision, having sound in Sea of Thieves itself is a great game changer for them, because Sea of Thieves is so sound oriented. So much of what you do in the game revolves around audio cues. And if Rare hadn't been trying to put so much effort into those audio cues, it would have been a lot harder for him to be able to play this game. So I hope that in the future that accessibility just keeps getting pushed and pushed more and more, and it keeps getting built in, because much like with Sea of Thieves and other games, I have been using accessibility features to improve my gameplay. The white X's for X marks the spot maps, the reduce to hold interaction for keys. There are so many that people use that they may not realize like the original intent of this, but still benefit people to a large degree on what they can and can't do, and just quality of life improvements. And I think hopefully we'll get to the point where accessibility options isn't under like its own label. It's just quality of life. It's just options for quality of life. And you don't have to try and delineate the difference between someone who's able or disabled. It's just gamers, and then there's just quality of life features that you can choose to put on or choose to leave off.
Accessibility really comes down to like good game design. Even features that get put into games may not be designed around supporting a player with disabilities. It could just be what the developer thinks is what the general population of players, the mass amount of players wants. So something like the what Sea of Thieves just added in, where you can see the title bars, or the name, what am I thinking of? The nameplates for players are as far as you want. That's huge, especially for like deaf players or players who can't communicate verbally. Mm-hmm. You're able to see where all of your players are. So on the same side of how there's awesome sound, there's awesome sound alerts on the screen that say like, when the wheel hits. So that way Sightless Combat's able to play. He knows when the wheel's centered, or he can hear the music. The other side of that is something like having the title, the nameplates. I don't know why I cannot remember what they're called now. Having the nameplate show up as far as you want, and even showing what the player is doing.
Yes.
So if a player is getting attacked, or if they're just repairing a ship from whatever distance. So there's less communication needed, and that's great even for players who are just starting or hopping in to random open crews. There's not always a lot of communication there, but now this is just an improvement that you can have in your gameplay experience, but it's also huge for a lot of players in the difference of being able to understand where their players are and aren't. So it's a lot of cool stuff that they're putting in, and a lot of what's awesome is a lot of the accessibility features they need or that they're adding are just overall great features that have just improved the game, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. As soon as I saw that feature in the patch notes, I went into my settings and I turned it on because there's a dude that I love to play with, Chris. He is notorious for disappearing on islands and shipwrecks. Like that's his thing. Like if we're getting into a battle or if we're sailing in to go take on a ship at a fort or something, and we pass by a shipwreck, just expect that you were now one man down. You don't even have to ask what he's doing. You just know that he's going to disappear. He's going to go looking for fish, and
he's going to supply the boat.
Yeah.
I'm that guy, so I have to defend him. I'm sorry.
Oh no. I love him. It's great, and we work around it, so we're not too worried. But he does what is great because he cooks our fish. He makes sure that we have supplies, and that's what he's good at. He's great at disappearing and coming back with the stuff that we need to continue sinking. I mean, he snuck off once, which really surprised us, and I'm pretty sure I told this story, but he snuck off one time and stole an entire rowboat's worth of skeleton fleet loot out from underneath a brig's nose, and we were just like, where is he? But this was before the update, so we couldn't see where he was. We just knew he was gone, so we just figured he was doing something, but it was towards the end of our night. And then he comes on comms and he's like, I have a rowboat full of treasure, and I can't talk because my wife is sleeping. Can you come pick me up? And we're like, wait, what? you got what? And yeah, so now that I have that turned on, it's funny to see like his gamer tag way out in the distance on a little island, and it's just this little green tag that keeps running from place to place to place to place. And it's like, now I have a visual indicator. It's like, okay, he's over there. So I know if we go into an engagement, like I'll have to call him back, and I'll have to be like, hey, I need you to come back and help. But at least I can expect to see him doing stuff over there, because I'll see him like accessing a barrel or getting in a fight with a skeleton or holding a piece of treasure and stuff. And it's a really cool feature that I didn't think I wanted until I saw it, and now I want it on everything that's multiplayer, because something like that in like Call of Duty or like Apex, when I could actually see the gamer tags of the people that I'm mentally thinking are right behind me, got my 6, they're not actually there. They're actually somewhere else doing something else, and I have no clue because I can't see them. So. But let's dive into, unless there's anything you wanted to dive into that you wanted to talk about, because this is kind of why I brought you on. Is I wanted to bring you on because as far as I'm concerned, you're one of the main people that's connected with Sea of Thieves, but also a huge advocate for accessibility and bringing everyone into the fold of gaming. And I wanted to make sure that you had enough time to kind of talk about stuff if there was something that you were thinking about.
Yeah. It's weird because basically the only things I really talk about are Sea of Thieves and accessibility. So
perfect.
I don't want to take over too much. Yeah, but it worked out perfect for what you were trying to do with the show today. So no, it's very cool. Like all the industry making a push, and even communities trying to do better at including players with disabilities is great. Having all the features in Sea of Thieves is great. I know, like we were talking earlier, I recently had to have surgery, so like it was kind of cool actually, because not the surgery. Well, I guess it was cool because it worked out in the end, hopefully. But I got to help work on the adaptive controller. So I was working on it like before it was announced, doing like that kind of fun stuff with it. I got to do some of the press for it. It was like a blast to do all of that, right? And I knew it was going to help people, but I didn't necessarily know that I was going to need it, 2 years later.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I think you saw the tweet of it, but I actually went through and programmed and figured out the best way for me. And I'm saying for me because every player is going to have a different experience on it, but the best way for me to play Sea of Thieves using an adaptive controller, which I thought was neat because I was like, well, all I do is talk about accessibility in Sea of Thieves. And here I am trying to do exactly that so I could play Sea of Thieves with my friends. So it was very cool. And the way the developers have, button remapping, I was able to map things to work for my play style because I was very limited. And being able to just change everything inside of the game and being able to switch over to mouse and keyboard if I needed to. There's a lot of really great stuff. And it was cool that I didn't have to miss out on playing with my crew during that time. Because, honestly, like right now, we all just sit in Discord all day. That's what we did through Sea of Thieves anyways when we met. But now that's really how we socialize. So it was really cool to be able to keep playing one way or another, even if I was just the guy that fixed the boat when we crashed. But it's cool. I will talk to you about accessibility stuff forever, but I'll also talk to you about Sea of Thieves stuff forever. So you lead the way.
Well, I know, so I sent you the link in Discord late, and I put some stuff together as far as like show notes go, but I wanted to kind of get into the meat of this update because as I quickly learned when I got in on Wednesday, a lot of this update is kind of learned through experience. I read the patch notes and I was like, oh, okay, I feel like I got a pretty good understanding of what's going on. And then I actually started to play and I was like, oh, I don't understand anything about what's going on. I need to really spend some time on the seas to kind of understand how the new systems work. So with the emissary system, I wanted to talk a lot about the Reaper's Bones, because I feel like the Reaper's Bones is going to be the one that is the newest and unlike other factions that we're used to. So have you had a whole lot of time to jump into the emissary system? Have you gotten a chance to test out stuff and tinker with things?
I jumped in and I played Reaper's Bones, which is weird because I never attacked people like playing it. Like before this, I had only attacked 3 ships total in Sea of Thieves that didn't shoot first.
Mm-hmm.
And no, last night we went and we sunk a lot of boats. It was a lot of fun. It's weird because I was like, this isn't normally how I play, but now I feel like it's okay. So it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun. I have a set crew of friends that I play with, and for the longest time, we were always just aggro pirate hunters. We would go out, sink ships, didn't matter who. We would try to steal supplies, but we wouldn't try and camp anyone. Once we sank them, that was kind of it. We got our satisfaction out of it. But now with the emissary system and PvP being rewarded, this is kind of a big shift from where the game was when it launched. Like for the longest time, people were asking for bounties and for ways to reward PvP. And Rare had always taken the stance that they didn't want to reward people for killing others in the game because they didn't want to have that situation where people would get griefed. And I feel like I feel like it took a couple years, but I feel like the Reaper's Bones, lore-wise and mechanic-wise, is probably the best way they could have possibly have introduced a bounty system without having it be malicious. And I say that because if you're a streamer or if you're just really good and people get to know your name, if you could put a bounty on someone's head, that could be a real problem if it gets over to like Reddit or on Twitter or Facebook groups and stuff. You could really, really troll some people. And that's exactly what I think Rare wanted to avoid. But with the emissary system, I feel like we finally have permission to go hunting other ships. in a way that is sanctioned in that Rare knows that whoever is opting into the emissary system is taking into account that they are putting themselves at risk of being a higher target for pirates who want to go hunting down other pirates. And because it's an opt-in system, other ships that, for example, with rank 5, or with the rank 5 emissary for Reapers, you get to see the other emissary ships on the map. And it doesn't tell you what rank they are. It doesn't tell you what type of ship they are. It just looks like a shadow, as if they were holding a Reaper's markup. But because they're in an emissary system, they're in the pool of ships that will be displayed for Reapers. And Reapers can specifically choose to go out and hunt down those ships to get the flags that drop when you sink a ship, or if the ship scuttles or sinks, or whatever happens that the ship is destroyed at that point. And having the option to opt in or opt out of that system has really kind of given, like, for example, I sank a ship last night that wasn't an emissary, but they were working on tall tales, but they happened to cross in front of a rank 5 Reaper's bounty, which I don't know why they would just assume that we would ignore any ship that wasn't an emissary, but we ended up sinking them. And it's kind of nice to know. It was like, we sank them, we got their treasure, and at the end of the day, we were like, that wasn't as satisfying as going after an actual emissary. Like, we actually got more enjoyment after sinking an emissary, even if it was like a grade 2 or like a rank 4 Reapers. We got more enjoyment out of doing that because we knew that they had opted into the system. We knew that they went into the bargain knowing that they would get a reward if they succeeded, and we would get rewarded if we succeeded. And because of that, I think that this emissary system has actually upgraded this game to a whole new level. And I'm sorry I'm talking a lot, but I can't express enough how much I think this emissary system has been such a positive game changer for Sea of Thieves, and has really added a layer to the game that is going to be kind of opaque for a lot of people until they get used to it, but has really changed the landscape of how you play this game. And something that I think a lot of people were looking forward to with a game that has yet to come out, which was Skull and Bones, which was going to be more PvP oriented. But what are you thinking as far as like this goes? Like, how do you feel as far as the emissaries?
So I love it. I agree with you on pretty much everything about how it kind of made it better and feel like you're okay to go attack. So like I said, if I only sunk 3 boats that were not that didn't shoot first when I played this game, like throughout the whole 2 years.
Yeah.
Not counting arena. That is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So, but last night we went out and we sunk everyone. Well, everyone had emissaries. And that's what made it different, because I thought I was going to hate this. I thought it was going to encourage people to just troll everyone. But the fact that you don't get any points for being an emissary, or if you kill someone that's not an emissary, there's really nothing to win there except maybe some treasure, which is cool for the multiplier, I guess. But there's not really too much of it. And even then, when I started thinking about it, I was like, well, this is going to suck when everyone hits the top level. And then they just go, oh, we'll just go sink people again. But when they added the leaderboards, now you always have something to work forward to. So going and attacking, a sloop doing a tall tale is kind of a waste of time now. Whereas before, it was just part of the game. So it's weird how they've kind of made it where if you want to fight, you just let everyone know we're here to fight, and like people can tell that. And then the people that want to just kind of get used to it can kind of go and sail and not do the emissary, and there's no point in killing them except for treasure. So I think I think it added a really cool balance to it, and I was not expecting it to work out or me to like it as well as I do. But it's very cool. And I didn't like the idea of having a Reaper's Bones originally, because I know even the way Rare said it, that they didn't want to encourage people attacking. But this kind of encourages, it's just like a secondary, it's like the end game of it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's if you want to go to the second level of it and do more, you can, but it's riskier. And that's kind of how the game has always been,
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
So it's very cool. I like it a lot. I like it more than I should. And I had too much fun sinking people in an adventure last night.
Well, I think that's so I was debating with my crew last night because we were kind of talking about, you know, what's fun and what's not fun and what we kind of enjoying about this. And we were learning recently, a lot of people have been hitting level 75 in the Reaper's Bones, but some of those folks have been doing it through grinding Fort of the Damned. Because the Reaper's Bones will take any treasure. It doesn't necessarily matter where you got it. They'll take everything. They'll literally take everything except for fish. I've turned in tomes, which I know a lot of people get on me about calling tombs. You can turn in ashen chests, whether they're open or not. You can turn in anything you possibly want at the Reaper's hideout and get credit for it. So a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, a subsection of the community have been grinding out forts to gain reputation, which in my mind kind of is a bummer because I feel like they're cheating themselves out of the experience of going and participating in the PvP aspect of Reaper's Bones. But at the same time, I have to concede that not everyone is going to want a PvP to rank this up. And they may want the cosmetics, but they aren't good at PvP or they don't like PvP. It goes against what they prefer, and they can still earn reputation even if they aren't actively stealing treasure or sinking ships. So while I feel like they're the end game people or the folks that like to get the world firsts on things and they're doing it their way, I hope that others use this as an opportunity to play around with PvP and get to actually try out what it feels like to kind of hunt down a ship and get to actively participate in that. And I'm hoping that with Sea of Thieves coming to Steam, with Xbox Series X coming out, and this game continuing to be on Game Pass, that will just continue to grow the player base, and we'll have more diverse people coming in to learn how to play the game, but also to kind of make sure that there's someone out there for everyone. And one of the things that you brought up that I really like is these leaderboards. I didn't realize I was going to like these. I thought this was going to be kind of a pain, because they are giving rewards for the actual leaderboards. And
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it and I was like, man, it's going to be a situation where the people that have more time are going to be the ones that earn the rewards for the actual leaderboards. So if anyone hasn't, if you haven't gotten a chance to actually check this out, you can go into your reputations pane, and the commendations are now the top half of the actual reputation pane. And underneath of that, you've got the ledgers. So at any given time in the game, you can actually check the leaderboards and see globally where everyone's at and where you stand. And if you're not in the game, you can actually go to seaofthieves.com/leaderboards. And actually, as long as you're logged into your Microsoft account that has your pirate on it, you can see your standings with the different companies as well. So there's 4 tiers to the leaderboards, and each tier has different pools of players. And the top 2 tiers, the 50% and higher, have rewards associated with these. And there's a low end reward and a high end reward. So if you've gone into the Pirate Emporium, you'll see that there's the ship liveries that you can purchase. There's a standard set, and then they have what they call the collectors, figurehead, and sails. Similar kind of system here, where there's a regular kind and then a collector's kind. So at the top portion of the actual tier, the high end tier, you get the really cool cosmetic, which this month is going to be sales for deliveries. And with this pool, I don't know about you, but I was kind of worried that the pool of people that got into the highest rank were going to be small, and that it was purely going to be just the folks that had the most amount of time to play. And I still kind of feel like that, but the tier itself seems to be a pretty large group of people. I've played, what is it, 3 nights now, and 2 of those nights we were doing Reapers and played 3 to 4 hour sessions, and I'm in the top groupings, and I'm not close to the top compared to who's ranked 1, but I'm definitely not at the bottom. And the nice thing is that the leaderboard will actually show what your position is, and you can compare your position to the position of the person who's in the top position. Or how's the best way to explain this? Maybe
He's like number 1.
Yeah. So whoever's number 1 for the 3rd tier, their position is shown. And you can compare your position to their position. So like when I was looking at it today for Reapers, I'm in position 10,000 or 11,000. And the tier below me, the top player is at rank 29,000 or 30,000 if you're rounding. So I know I've got about 20 different or 20,000 positions between me and the bottom of the tier that I have a bit of give room. Now I'm not gonna be able to hit the top rank, but the closer and closer I get to the bottom of that top rank, the more I recognize that I need to jump onto Reapers for a while to kind of keep my position higher if I want to get that master rank rewards. And every month these rewards are going to cycle. So this month it's sales, next month it might be hull, or the next month after that it could be figurehead. And these rewards are intended to cycle. So it may be sales this week, but in next quarter it may come back as the rewards again. So if you missed out on something because you couldn't play or you couldn't get a high enough position, that at least it'll hopefully be back.
That's great, because I haven't missed a single thing yet, and I was worried about that. I was like, what if one month I don't do a certain thing? So I didn't know that they come back.
Yeah, it's great.
But
go ahead.
I was going to say, and even what's great about the leaderboards is, like, you always know who the best PvP players are, but this is going to allow you to see who the best merchant people are. So you might end up seeing like new personalities emerge in the content creation space by who the number 1 person at merchant cargo is. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of really cool stuff that's going to get highlighted from this. So it is cool. Like I love that there's leaderboards. I love that they're giving stuff out for it. So there's always something to do. So now it's like, maybe I'm going to play a little less Animal Crossing and try to turn in a few more skulls, but all of these changes definitely improve the experience. Even the ones I didn't think I was going to like. I even like that you can get Reaper's Bones XP from not fighting people, because it does add like an extra level of danger on your forts. You're like calling people there. So now I'm kind of mad. I would have loved to redo the whole thing and did Reaper's Bones without killing a single person. But now I can't do that.
There's blood on your hands.
I know. It's a problem.
No, that's the fun of the game is getting out of your comfort zone and trying different things. I really love the emissary system. And for those that aren't focusing on Reaper's Bones, you may already know this, but if you're focusing on Reaper's Bones, the rank 5 is kind of cool. And it's pretty contentious at this point. I feel there's a lot of mixed emotions with rank 5 Reaper Bones, because when you're rank 5, you get to see all the emissaries on the map, where they're at. You can't can't see what they are or what they're doing or anything like that. Like we chased down a galleon last night, and they were going between Daggertooth and Old Faithful Island, and we were down in Ancient Isles, and I was like, I bet they're doing animals. How much you want to bet they're doing animals? And they're like, I don't know. We get over there, they start running, and they get krakened, and I was like, how is that for PvE? And got over there. Turns out they had like 9 storage crates. They had a whole bunch of animal crates. Like they were just stocking up Noah's Ark, and they sank themselves. Unfortunately, we didn't get credit for that, but we took the flag regardless. But you can kind of start telling, like, you know, there was a ship out in the Devil's Roar, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's an Athena ship doing an Ashen Athena's out there. And they hung out at Morrow's Peak for a long time, but I can't wait till my crew and I get our fill of Reaper's Bones, because the original plan was to do Merchant Alliance, and I absolutely love the costumes, but I think I love the costumes for the Merchant Alliance the most. I think it's the coolest,
the best.
Yeah.
I've been trying to convince my crew to do Devil's Roar Cargo for a long time, and now there's a reason to do it again. So I think we're going to do that. But yeah, the merchant costume is great.
Yeah, I love it.
The level 5 thing gets crazy, because we last night we were playing, my crew and I, and we sunk everyone like repeatedly. We got to level 5, we went to turn it in, and then all of the boats emerged at once. So we saw, I think we sunk 3 boats, but then they just kept coming back at us. So there was one point where I died and I saw the dead boat, and you just saw everyone load in single file, like as they were loading in, because we had killed so many people. It ended with us ditching our boat, dropping a rowboat off at Reaper, selling everything. We ended up we got sunk right at the end, but then our boat spawned right at an outpost. So we just voted the Reaper emissary back on while the one person unloaded all the treasure, and we got the credit for it. And it was awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
It was like, but it's not very often that you have an experience where you had a bunch of boats gang up on you and sink you, and then you still had a good time. Yeah. So yeah, we deserved it. Like, we definitely deserved it.
And I think that's the goal too. Like I think that's the definite, like, that's the idea is that the trade companies would come together to take out the Reapers, because they are trying to be that antagonist. They're trying to be the bad guys on the seas. And if that's the role that you want to play, then there's an entire edgelord faction out there for you, and it's awesome. And I absolutely love it. I love the little Assassin's Creed costume you get. And it's such a cool concept. It's so down the path of being able to pick lighter dark side. But there's not really a lighter dark side to the game. It's just, what do you prefer to do? And if you want to do it one night, then cool. You can switch it up the next night. I wanted to dive a little bit into kind of how the emissary system works, because once I got my hands on it, it acted a lot differently than what I originally expected this to work out. So if you have your emissary up, and the way to get your emissary is first off, you have to be level 15 with the faction. You have to purchase the flag, which I think is a one-time payment of 20,000 gold. And you can choose to purchase the costume. As far as I can tell, it doesn't change anything. It's a flavor thing. So once you have the flag, you can then vote on the table next to the trade company with the majority of your crew to become an emissary. And the emissary basically gives you 5 ranks, and you get 1.5, 2, and no, was it 50, 1.5, 2, and 2.5 times the reputation in gold earned under the emissary flag. So anything that say if you were gold hoarders, you would throw down a regular gold hoarder voyage. You would sail over to the island. You could dig up a chest, and digging up the chest fully earns you session rank, and it'll start to rank up to rank 5 to get you the bonus. Once you take that item and you put it on your ship, you get a little bit more rep. So you're rewarded for actively doing the voyage, but you're also rewarded for any treasure that you bring onto your ship too. And that includes stuff that you find at like shipwrecks or on islands or from skeleton fleets. The Megalodon and the Kraken's items or treasure has been upped, like the value of that, and they drop more stuff. So it's actually worth it to kill Megs and Krakens a lot more now. And anything that you grab and put on your ship actually counts towards your rank progression. And once you get rank 5 with any of the emissaries, you get a special voyage that is repeatable. So if you are looking to grind out Athena's Fortune and you get to rank 5, you'll get a special voyage. And that special voyage has bits of trinkets and things that you would find in the Thieves Haven Athena voyage in that special voyage. So I think, I can't remember who it was on Twitter said that the best way to get to rank 5 was to either do an Ashen Athena's or a Thieves Haven Athena run. And that would be the quickest way to get to rank 5. But the special voyages themselves are going to be high level voyages, which I absolutely love. I love that they're giving you a reason to stay at rank 5 because that promotes you staying with the actual emissary and giving other players an opportunity to either find you and join you or find you and sink you. So I'm trying to think if there's something that I wanted to go. Okay, so with the emissaries, and feel free to jump in anytime, Craig, too.
Sounds good.
With the emissaries, I like the fact that these little tables have a little ship that kind of shows who's under that emissary. Because it kind of gives you an idea of what the feel of the server is before you even really get a chance to go out onto the seas. And each of the outposts has a Reaper's Bones emissary table with the skeleton. I love this too. They've caged.
It scared me the first time.
Yeah, it reminds me of Curse Sales. It took me back to when we had the banner that you had to find out where the cursed fleets were sailing.
That's right. Yeah.
So they've caged a skeleton, which is hilarious. Each of the emissary tables has a pet, and hopefully one day we'll get that pet. But the little skeleton will be like the indicator that there's a Reaper's table there. And you can vote on the table at any outpost to be able to throw up the Reaper emissary. So even when you get into the game, you aren't necessarily having to sail out to Reaper's hideout to start your Reaper emissary. So if you happen to come across a ship just just outside of the outpost area, you can go sink them immediately and get credit for it. But all of the emissaries tables are next to the actual trade company representatives on each of the outposts. And it takes a majority vote to be able to vote into it. And you have to have a majority of vote to lower it. And once you lower it, you actually get a pretty chunky amount of gold and reputation, depending on what rank you're at. I think at rank 5, I got half a level at level 39. I got like half a level for lowering a rank 5 Reaper's Bones flag, it was awesome. That was totally insane. But with the emissary tables, the little ships on there represent the different emissaries that are out there. You can raise your flag and fly under that. And I don't know. I think this is just it's the coolest way of giving players information about what's going on that server without necessarily pulling up a tab and seeing like, these are the 6 ships on the servers. This is what they're working on, kind of thing. It's a very in flavor version of finding out what people are doing on that server.
It's great because when you go there, you go to the server, this is a server I want to go fight a bunch of people on, or this is a server where everyone's pretty chill, just running chickens. So like, it's great to know. And I'm sure whenever you're getting ready, you probably talk to your friends and go, do you want to sync a bunch of people? Do you want to run cargo? You know, it's cool that you can find a server that matches that, even though it changes very quickly. But it's cool to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the fact that because of this update, all of the trade companies that were originally capped at 50, I would say, I guess the original ones. I always think of the original ones when I say that, but the Gold Hoarders, the Order of Souls, and the Merchant Alliance have all had their level cap raised up to 75. And you actually start earning cosmetics for those companies. For I guess it's the new cosmetics. It's not the original ones that you got, but the new cosmetics that you can earn through either the leaderboards or through reputation have that new look, the look that has been on the promotional artwork for the game for Ships of Fortune. And every time you hit another 5 ranks in the reputation, you earn a different piece of loot or cosmetics for it. So I love that it's giving even Pirate Legends who've been capped out for forever an opportunity to get back in there and get that day one feel of leveling up your reputation and having that sense of like, I have to touch everything. I have to grab everything. We have to put everything on the ship and we have to turn it in regardless. Because it's been missing in my life for quite a while. And it feels so good to be like, am I alone? Do you feel like you've been enjoying the fact that we can actually get reputation again?
Oh, the little bar and sound. It sounds so good. Like every time I've played on like a different account or whatever, and I heard it, I was like, oh, I missed that. And now we get to have it again. Yeah. It's also great too, because like now if we want to like, it's not really power leveling, but I guess it kind of is, like where if you want to help, if you have a friend that's not legend yet and they are in Merchant Alliance, I know how difficult it was to get people to want to do it sometimes. And now it's like everyone needs it again. So, if you have a friend that's not legend, it's easy to be like, all right, let's go. We're getting out there. We're throwing this emissary down. We're going to try to get you there. But everyone benefits. Like there's right now, like I have a few megs I haven't completed. And like now when we see them, we're like, all right, let's fight it, because it adds to our points. We don't have all the 50 kills in it. Like it's great that everything feels fresh again. Like you want to kill everything and grab everything and sell everything again. So it's fun.
Yeah.
It does feel like when the game first came out, because you're like, there's all this new stuff. Basically, you just want to hear yourself get XP and you can buy new clothing. Yeah. And when you can't get XP and you ran out of clothing to buy, you just kind of sail around doing whatever. And now you're like, I got to buy new clothes. We got to make some money.
I absolutely love it. It's one of those things that I want to blame World of Warcraft for this, because I feel like that it seemed like every time there was an expansion, they raised the level cap, and there was always this feeling of like accomplishment every time you dinged. And it was there in Sea of Thieves for a long time. A lot of people hit Pirate Legend, within the first year. A lot of people hit Athena 10 in the first 2 years. And now that we have like an additional 10 levels onto Athena's Fortune, now that we have another 25 levels onto the original trade companies, it's satisfying to work towards that in the game now. It's so nice that we're getting this. And I've been a long proponent for having a prestige system where I would retain my status, my titles, and my cosmetics, but I could reset my levels and have some sort of, moniker or title or cosmetic tied to being able to prestige multiple times and reset my levels and say like, okay, well, I know I'm level 50, but I'm willing to dump that and build back up to 50, and I'll get a cosmetic for dumping it and getting it back up to 50, and just being able to recycle that reputation level again. And that way, if you saw a pirate who has prestiged 5 times and they've got this elaborate hat that's 3 times as wide as their body, even on the biggest pirate, you're like, wow, that dude has a lot of time, and that good for him. But at least
you should just get a watch cosmetic, and every time you prestige, it just adds another number onto the watch. That's it. But I would do it.
Yep.
I'd be like, I want to have all 12 digits on this watch.
What time is it? I don't know. I haven't prestiged far enough yet. I'm working on it. It could be 6. It could be 9. I don't know. But it's definitely not 2. I love the idea of the new level cap system, and we've been talking a lot about accessibility, but one of the other things that came into the game this update was world map markers, which have confused my friends for a bit until we kind of explained that discovering tall tales in the world was easy when we were first doing it, because a lot of the tall tales were chronological if you went through them 1 through 9, but now we don't necessarily have numbers tied to the new ones. So people aren't necessarily sure of where they need to go to start these. So if you look on your map, there are now markers similar to the way you would see like a Reaper's chest or a Reaper's flag or a Reaper's bounty. And these indicators give you an idea of where you can go if you want to start a certain tall tale, like where those eligible places are for those tales. And I love anything that Rare does to give players quick information that doesn't force them to dive into a menu. If they can find something and learn about how something works in game, then it's easier for them to pass on that information. So if like a Reaper's Bone couldn't be turned into Duke, but every time you walked up to a Reaper's chest, it had a little marker on that said return to the Reaper's hideout. And the closer and closer you got to Reaper's hideout, the more and more it would glow or hum, or the more power it would kind of put out there, saying like, "Hey, I'm getting close to home. You're on the right track." Like I feel like that might be kind of a fun thing to do for those to kind of help people get those. But the world map markers, how do you feel about kind of them pulling more information into the actual map? Are you worried that they might clutter it up too much over the course of the next 2 years or so with more stuff being introduced, or is this still probably a really good way of informing people?
So I use like you can turn it on and off, which is cool too. I'm glad they have that, but like
Didn't know that.
the because I turned off the tall tale one is what I turned off, and I actually am glad they added it, because now I know if I pull up to a ship that's like parked there, they might just be doing a tall tale, because I sometimes forget which islands I went to when I did it. But it's also great for like players that are just starting out trying to figure out how to play the game, because the more information you can give like that, the better. Because I'm sure you've had this experience where like Sea of Thieves is great. Yeah, it's pretty easy. I'll show you how to play it. And then you get a new player on and you realize how much stuff you've actually explained. And you're like, oh my God, this is not an easy game. I have just played this. Well, it can be an easy game, but I've played this so much that I know too much about it. So I'm overloading people.
Yep.
When I try to explain every single thing. I'm like, okay, you got to turn the sails to the wind. You got to do all this. And something like that. Like it makes it easy, because I think a lot of players might, or even players that enjoy like single player experience or campaigns, they might prefer to try those first, the tall tales first. And knowing where the islands are and having it easily marked is good. Plus, in theory on a pirate map, it would all be marked anyways, right? Like here's where you fight this guy, here's where you find a treasure. So it works. And they do it, it's all like within the style of the earth, of the universe as well. So it doesn't feel intrusive. If they add more stuff, I mean, I could even see them adding like, a place where you sell your fish, or indicating which. I know it says outpost on it and sea post, so they probably don't need those. But even adding things like that, if you turn it on, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did pretty much every single one of my tall tales using Rare Thief, so I would be kind of hypocritical to tell people I don't want them to use a map when that's straight up what I did. So
yeah. Kudos
cool.
to Rare Thief for being those two. I love those two. So glad that I got a chance to talk with them last week. Because I'm in the same boat, man. The Rare Thief has helped me out more than they probably ever realized in this game. And it's purely just because there's so much information in this game, lore wise and knowledge wise, that unless you have, back in the day, they probably would have been writing all over the maps. Just like you said, you're 100% right. The more I think about it, the more I realize is like, yeah, they would have like, hey, this is like shallow shoals on this side of the island. This is deep waters, or this is a good place for fresh water. They would have had all of that information logged in books and marked on maps and just kind of expressed in some way, so that if someone walked in and been like, we need to go and refit, where's a good place to go? And you'd look on the map and say like, okay, well, this island's close by. It's got some shallows that we could beach our ship on and start working on refitting if we need to. And having the map markers, especially since, like you said, having the map markers being something that you can toggle, that's really cool, because some people may not need that information. They may have all the tall tales done and it's not important to them and it's clutter. But if they can take those and effectively erase them, then that gives you less clutter on the map. So I hope Rare goes forward with this and adds more info that is something that you can have on or have off. I like that. It's interesting. I would like if they went even further. Like you were talking about how they may not necessarily need to have like the outposts or sea posts added. But yeah, I think you're right. They really should have the turn-in spots or at least the different trade companies as available map markers. So if you don't know where to go turn in a piece of loot, you can see like, okay, well, here's where the Order of Souls tents are on the map, and start to pull information into the game the way Rare Thief has it all kind of on their app and on their website. But aside from all this, how do you feel about cats? Because I'm loving my cat. Have you picked up a cat yet?
Yeah, oh yeah. It was like I went on and bought him before I even got to open the game. I just like went through the store and bought him, and I was like,
me too.
It's the cats are perfect. No pun intended. Mm-hmm. But I like everything they do is fun. Like I used to have my bird. I had Shroud Beaker, and he was my friend. But now I'm like, I've got this cat. But I think I'm interested to see how many cats are named Rocco.
Oh,
that's
Did you see Rocco's tweet recently? He even posted a tweet how he popped into Arena, and one of the cats in Arena was named Rocco. So Rocco was petting Rocco in Arena, and that's it's so funny.
It's perfect.
It is.
I've seen Rocco. Whenever you play with Rocco, you end up having pets named Rocco, and there's so many Roccos, and it's
it's great. I love it. It's such a, and you're right. They really are perfect. I was playing last night, and as much fun as I was having, I still ended up just taking photos of my cat, because that was the thing.
They like fight over the food and stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Like, daggers.
The controllers rumble, I guess, when they're purring if you're holding them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, oh man. And I caught mine staring at a wall last night, and I was like watching it sitting on the barrels next to the lumber barrels or the plank barrels, and it was just staring at the wall, and I was like, what the heck is it doing? And then I would watch it and it'd look at me, And then it would look back at the wall, and then it would look at me, and then it would look back at the wall, and I'm like, that is such a cat thing to do. That is...
Yeah, see, 100%. Because if your bird stared at the wall, you'd be like, why is my bird just staring at the wall? But like a cat, doesn't matter. It does what it wants.
Yeah, I've seen cats do that. So that's a thing I expect.
I didn't see my cat on the boat for like an hour, and then it showed up, and I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I literally thought I put it away, and then it just showed up, and I was like, yeah, this all makes sense.
Yep, that's a cat
No matter
thing to do.
what goes on with the cats, it makes sense. They're fighting, they're laying.
Yep. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I caught mine on the bed, and I was like, yeah, it's just sleeping on the bed.
It's funny. That's what we did too. We just kept going, yeah, that's a cat thing. Yeah. That's what cats do. Like the whole night. We just sunk boats and talked about cats.
They've done a great job. I love all the different breeds. I've purchased practically every single one of them. I think there's still, I would say, total 6 color variations that I haven't picked up yet, but I've got at least 2 of each kind. And the costume, oh man, I spent so much money on the cats this week. I did not realize. I knew I was going to. I didn't realize how much I was going to spend beyond what I thought I was going to like purchase. Like I still haven't even picked up the Saber Wolf cosmetics yet because I've been purchasing all the stuff for cats. And that's...
I see. Well, you need to be able to have like all of your cats out at one time, or we need to get like 8 people on one boat with cats.
Yes,
and just live the life of cats.
I really do want to see a ship full of like an entire server's worth of cats on one ship. Like have everyone just kind of hide in one spot, and then just have all of the cats on in one area, like in the captain's cabin, and just just have one person standing there with food, just trying to feed all of these different cats. Like someone needs to make that meme.
We need to do it. You know, all those like Twitch streams where they just show a bunch of animals.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to have like 5 different people line up, just filming the cats on the boat. But there's like 100 cats on the boat. There's 8 different shots that you can view. Just cats. And we might explode by somebody with a keg. Who knows? But there's cats.
Yeah, as long as there's cats, I don't care. We're good. I would love to see.
Sink this boat. Who cares? Save my cats.
Yeah, someone needs to build an alliance on a server and take all the cats and stick all the cats around Duke, and just have Duke be the crazy cat lady. Just have them everywhere.
Everyone just goes right into the. Oh my god! Everyone goes right into the pub at the outpost. There'd just be cats all over it. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's just a cat cafe in Sea of Thieves at that point, right? That's what it is. You're just going there to go pet the cats. You get done with your voyage, you sink all the ships, you all have a good time, and instead of going into the tavern to have a grog and cheers one another and do some crab dabs, you just pick up a cat and start petting it. Like that's your cool down session. Is you get to sit down and just play with the cats. So, was there something that I've missed outside of the... Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. So, okay, so there's a palm tree wave emote, which reminds me of the... what are those big kind of inflatable car salesman dudes?
Oh, the wacky inflatable tube man.
Yes, the tube men. So there's an emote available now that's free this update that essentially turns you into an inflatable tube man. So make sure you log in and get that. It'll be in the Pirate Emporium. If you're listening to this on Monday, I'm sorry. Hopefully you got these, but there were some Twitch drops that are going on right now as of recording for the Omen cosmetics. And I don't know about you, but God, these are awesome. I absolutely love these. I've already gotten my cannons. I've already gotten my wheel. I'm waiting for tomorrow for the capstan. Man, in these cannons work out really well too. They're not fluted. They've got an iron sight, so you can still kind of scope down the side of them. But God, they just did such a good job making this the Gears of War cosmetics. I don't know who they talk to, but what do you think of these?
They're awesome. Like the cannons look great on pretty much anything. We were just like rotating because we had we went no sales last night, but we had to put those cannons on. We just went naked bow with those, and they were fun. But yeah, it looks great. And like I played a lot of Gears of War, so getting these bow cosmetics are perfect. And they like what I love about them is they fit the universe, so you don't have like, you know, it doesn't just have like a full locust head on it. It's like, okay, well, here's what it would look like inside of the Sea of Thieves universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they look great, and I want the wheel real bad.
Yeah,
the anchor is real cool too, or the capstan.
Yeah, they've done a great job. So I'm hoping everyone had a chance to jump onto Twitch. I kind of wish that Rare did a little promotion like a week in advance, because I feel bad for anyone that just listens to the podcast. I imagine no one does. I can't imagine anyone just listens to the podcast and that's how you get your information. But hopefully everyone has had time to jump into the Twitch partnered streamers for Sea of Thieves and watched for 30 minutes with their accounts linked between Twitch and Microsoft and Sea of Thieves. I'm hoping that you guys all got an opportunity to get these, because these look awesome. And if you haven't, you need to make sure that you go to seaofthieves.com/Twitch-drops, link your Twitch account to your Sea of Thieves account and your Microsoft account so that you can actually get these drops. Because this is probably not going to be the last time they ever do this. They did this with the Obsidian Rod a couple months back. I guess it was longer than that now at this point. But the last thing that I noticed came via Twitter that I saw it, and Sadist Shabby came up with a really cool kind of concept art that is Sea of Thieves Flameheart, and he calls it the Flameheart reincarnation concept. He says, here's a concept I thought would be cool. Since the Reaper's pets are made from what I could tell is wood and gold, why wouldn't Reaper's bones reincarnate Flameheart using the very same method? Since the player took Flameheart's skull, he couldn't be a skeleton, at least on his own. His body could be made from cursed wood and gold from the chests the mysterious stranger collects for their curse. So they're basically taking the idea of how these mechanical Reaper's pets or Reaper's heart pets came out, the cursed monkey and the cursed parrot, and how if you go to Reaper's hideout, you can still see the sketches left by the mysterious stranger, aka Wanda, who had kind of designed these a while back. And with this kind of design in mind, he came up with this idea of coming up with like an autonomous body or like an android body in Sea of Thieves with the spirit of Flameheart in it. And I don't think that this is necessarily how they're going to go about it, but I absolutely love this concept because it's so cool. It's such a cool concept to think that the soul of a pirate could be stored in this mechanical body. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm a huge Hellboy fan, and the idea of there was a character in there that was dead, but he was like, his soul was kind of kept in this puppet body that was just it just had a magical curse kind of keeping it alive, even though he wasn't actually alive, and he was essentially invulnerable by that part. But I love this idea. I don't know. I wanted to hear what your thoughts on this are.
It looks really cool, but it makes me want to use those pets now because I have the monkey and the bird, and I didn't like them that much. But I was like, I just bought them because I was like, they look cool, but I'll never use them. Now I'm like, I like the idea that my little bird was once another bird that I used magic on to put in a body made out of wood. That's how much I love this bird.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't read the lore or any of that kind of stuff on the monkey or the bird, but the drawing looks cool. And it's going to be weird to fight Flameheart. So that makes sense that they'd give him a body. I like I want the hat.
Yeah. Yeah. The hat's really cool. The Flameheart hat looks awesome. And they did a great job of kind of coming up with the concept of how he's clothed with his Flameheart clothing, but how underneath of it, it's just kind of red magic. Kind of. If you look at the area that's in Reaper's hideout, you've got that circle with the very suspicious chain drawn hatch with the chalice on top of it, and underneath of that, you've got all that red mystic jib jab stuff, whatever you want to call it, and he's essentially built out of that. Like it's just a few pieces of gold and wood. Which looks like scorched wood, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And he's just a puppet with a magical spirit trapped within it. And that's kind of I like this take on what we could see out in the world now that we're playing around with more and more curses. You know, Salty was the first victim of Wanda, and then Wanda herself. And now we have these cursed pets. And I kind of like the idea that, you know, you're not necessarily going to run into a new enemy that is actually a skeleton. It could just be made up of golden bones or golden wood. So I'm trying to think. There's a lot. Basically, there's a ton of stuff that we could keep going on about, but I feel like we've kind of grasped onto some of the main things revolving around emissaries and obviously pets. I could be talking about this for months to come, but was there anything that you feel like you experienced in this update that we haven't kind of touched on that you still really enjoy?
I think that's it. The arena changed, which has been fun.
Yeah. So you got a chance to actually play that today too. So how was it? Because I haven't actually dived in. I haven't actually gotten into the arena yet.
We've been putting a lot of time in arena, which is what we pretty much did for the last 2 weeks. We've just been playing arena, and it changes the dynamic a bunch. Like, because there's only one chest at a time, you don't really have a team that pulls away with 10,000 points, and you don't really have, so everyone's always kind of close. And with cannonballs being 40 points now, we were catching up to people just by cannonballs. And there's something about it, being 15 minutes is also really fun, because if you're having a bad time, you usually kind of know you're about to have a bad time 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
You know, about 10 minutes in, you know if you're about to have a good time or a bad time. And if you're having a bad time, you're like, well, it's only 5 more minutes. We might as well get this XP.
Yeah.
And having one chest is real fun, because then you see all of the boats just chase after the one boat. So you're you feel terrified and excited the entire time, because you're okay, you're managing people. You're we have 3 people on the boat. One try to anchor them. We're going to bring this in. And it makes it a lot more exciting. Revives are fun, because you kind of get to see everyone's spirit fly up out of their body. And if you kill someone in the water and then swim by them, or your boat goes by them, you'll just kind of see them floating up past your boat. It's great.
Yeah.
There's so many great things about it.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I've been loving the revive mechanic. I got an opportunity. This was done in adventure, but my crew and I, we occasionally have a 5th team member, which is kind of a bummer because we don't ever get to have everyone at the same time. But the other night we tried to get 2 ships on a server by logging in at the same time, and we actually got it on the 3rd try. I was really surprised by that. But one of the fun things that I found out you could do is when you're in an alliance with someone, you can revive other players. But what I didn't realize would be fun is trapping them in a loop. So I've actually, we didn't do it a whole lot because it was kind of trolly, but we killed our buddy, and then we waited till he was almost back to the ferry, and we revived him, and then immediately killed him again. And then we revived him and then immediately killed him again, to the point where his body got stuck in that slumped over position. So he was running around, and he could still access barrels. He could still fight and still kill us, but he was just running around in that kneeling position. We kind of broke the animation for it. And I was like, man, this is some odd job stuff right here. This isn't cool. We need to just kill him and let him reset his body. But I can see Arena having a revive be really, really influential on just how close you could go from having a turn in to losing your ship. And I absolutely love it. I love the concept of it.
it's so much fun too, because then like if you kill someone on cannons and you don't see anyone else, you just kill them and then you run up to where the wheel is and you just wait because one of their other players will come and revive them. Then you kill them and then you just kind of use them as a trap.
Yeah.
It's fun. And then like if you're on someone's boat, like we had it last night where I died and I was like screaming, like cheering my my partner on to like kill everyone, and they killed him and then revived me. And I was like, oh my god, like there's something real fun about that. Like watching your friend kill watching your friend kill a bunch of people in arena and then revive you, and then you're just all dancing on the boat. Like we did it.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah. It's a thing that it's something that I'm used to with battle royales. And I was talking with Rare Thief last week about this too, but in practice, it's such a cool feeling to get a couple people on a boat, to fight your way to kill the rest of the crew, and to get that like you can see like your screen is like disappearing and you're like, I'm gonna go to the ferry, and they run over and they're like, no, come on, dude, you got this, and they cheer you on.
The little animation they do and they do it.
Yes,
so good.
It feels so good to see them run over and kind of like coax you back into your body. It's such a good, it's a little thing, but man, I've been really enjoying Resurrection, and I don't know how solo players feel. I want to get Shockwave on the podcast soon so that I can talk with him about this. But having Resurrection for crews and stuff is so good. And you brought up a real good point. I love the idea of using dead pirates as a trap to try and draw others in. It's such a cool mind game to kind of play with other people. So how's the actual length of time go for, because I know it's gone from 24 minutes to 15 minutes. Is 15 minutes too short, or does it feel a lot better than it did?
I like it because it's like, now that they changed it, there's kind of action for the whole 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so like everyone just goes to the one big glowy thing and then they fight to get the big glowy thing. So like the whole 15 minutes is just like fighting and action, which is great. And like I said, I really like that it's 15 minutes because the 24 seemed like slightly too long every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed is there's less people dropping out. And since the scores are closer, I don't know if it's because the scores are closer or because there's really only one chest. It seemed a little friendlier in arena. Like we were getting GGs, we were saying like nice shot, and people were saying nice things back to us. It was a good night. So hopefully that stays. But it just seems like more people are having fun. I mean, at the very least, way less boats quit out. So before the update, we would have many matches where it was us and one or us and two other boats at the end of it. And now it's like, you have 4 boats coming at you when you have the chest on it. It's great.
That's so cool. I like to hear that because, yeah, I feel like that was kind of the problem when I did play Arena, that if you were in the bottom group, because I would hop on to open crew from time to time, it always felt pretty defeatist. Sitting there at 10 minutes and there's 2 ships that have, 30,000 more points than you do. And you're sitting there and you're like, well, there's no way I have enough time to do this. So you just get bored and you feel trapped because you don't want to leave because you want the reputation, but there's no way that you have an opportunity to actually win the match. And I think the more I think about it, and the more I kind of live with this concept of having just one chest and having that chest be worth a lot more and having the actual matches be shorter, I feel like it's more like a roguelike in that sense, where the penalty for death isn't nearly as painful because you're going to have a shorter amount of time in the session. So it doesn't feel like it feels like, 15 minutes, you're done, you get out, you can get a new lobby, hop back in and give it another go. It doesn't feel like you're stuck there for a full 24 minutes waiting for this match to end because there's just nothing you can do about it, but you don't want to quit out.
It makes it better. 15 minutes is great.
It looks like there's also going to be penalties for quitting too. So players who quit contests too often will now be temporarily suspended too. And it looks like the way that this works is it just locks out the arena tab when you're actually logging into the game. So you can go into adventure, but you can't actually go into the lobby for arena, which I like. I like that they're trying to make sure that people who constantly quit aren't just abusing the system.
It's also really good because actually, I don't know, it doesn't count it during the you can quit out during the lobby area too, and that won't really penalize you. It's just during the game, which is good.
Yeah, I like that.
And we've had less broken lobbies. Like, it seems like it's starting up a lot faster now too.
That's awesome.
I think we had one that was weird last night, but other than that, we had a lot of fun. We've been playing arena a lot. And then like we were playing it before, and then the new update just kind of makes it more fun because you don't really feel as bad losing, because it kind of feels like this is what happens. Usually there's one, maybe two boats with like over 1,000, and the other ones are in the hundreds.
Yeah.
So even if you lose, you feel like you lost together.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't feel as bad. Like, I was going to just go solo sloop and just crash my sloop into boats just for fun. Like, if you have the chest, I'm going to crash into you. I don't care who gets it after. I just want you to not have it. Die, sink the boat, reset, crash it again. Like,
that's great. You just want to be the element of chaos at that point.
Yeah, it's real fun in arena because I don't do it in adventure. I just do it in arena. Now I do it in an adventure.
Oh, that's too.
But
funny.
It wasn't my fault. They made me.
Of course. Well, clearly that's what happens. You know, I didn't want to kill you. You forced my hand. I wasn't going to do anything, but you took all my treasure from that island and that fort, and you know, it's mine. You just don't know it yet. Well, I think that's going to take care of majority of the update. There's a lot more that obviously, as we kind of learn more about how the update works and how things are doing, we'll probably check in on like leaderboards and arena to see how those are panning out post launch. But I wanted to kind of, once again, just kind of give you the floor. What can people do to help AbleGamers?
So to help support AbleGamers, you can follow us on Twitter, on Twitch, Facebook, Instagram. Just keep up to date with us. All of that really helps. Just shoot us a follow. That way it shows the industry that people really believe in this mission, and it makes the industry want to support it a little bit more. If anyone's ever interested in donating, you can always do it through ablegamers.org. Fundraising. If anyone's ever interested in hosting a fundraiser, you can always host one through tiltify.com. Like, AbleGamers is one of the charities on Tiltify. You can always shoot me a message if you have questions about it. But yeah, all of that would be really helpful. Like, AbleGamers just wants to make sure that everyone can game, and the support from the community is what really keeps us alive. So whether it's being able to make a few donations or being able to throw retweets out to spread a message, it all really, really helps.
And that's something that I think I have to echo as well too. Even if you can't support monetarily, especially right now during Coconut Fever, where a lot of people want to help but want to make sure that they are staying financially secure, that the best thing you can do is just promote through social media. It doesn't cost anything to be on Twitter and retweet something. It takes maybe a little bit of time, but it's so important that accessibility becomes something that is not just about helping disabled gamers. Accessibility is just bringing games to people in general, being able to have features that you don't think you want until you get it. And then when you get it, you realize this is so much better for the game. And the reason we got it was a way to help promote accessibility for disabled gamers. And now this feature that you love may not have ever happened if people like you, Craig, haven't put in the time, haven't put in the work to try and work with companies, to try and work with developers, to build functionality into games, to try and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to play games. Because that's the end. At the end of the day, that's what we want. Everyone wants to have games that they love, stay alive and stay thriving. And the only way to do that is to promote the game, to play the game, to purchase the game, and have people on the servers to actually play with. It's no fun to play Sea of Thieves alone when there's no other ships on the ocean. I mean, you could probably still find fun in that, but you'd probably need like 8 cats in a tavern drinking somewhere. But that's a whole nother story. So, Craig, I wanted to thank you for joining me today. I know that with the surgery on your neck, it's tough to talk. So I appreciate you fighting through for me. And hopefully we'll get a chance to do some charity streaming in the future. Hopefully we'll get a chance to have you back on the podcast for other updates, or if you've got something going on with AbleGamers that you want to promote, you're always welcome to come back on the show at any time.
Awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, pirates, that's going to do it for this episode of Keelhauled. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it as much as I did in speaking with Craig about accessibility, about Ships of Fortune. We covered a lot of stuff, but as always, it's not going to be everything. And the more we have time with this update, the more it's going to be interesting to find out all the different things that we come to learn with this update, the little tricks, the little hints and stuff. I've already learned a few things just by playing a lot with some of my friends and stuff. So pirates, I want to hear from you. You guys have opinions, and I'm curious about them. I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on the res system? What do you think of the emissaries? Are you happy with the new level cap raise? Do you like the costumes? Do you like the new liveries? Are you trying for a certain emissary and what kind of rank it is? All those questions are all valid questions, and I want you to hit me up. I want you to let me know what you think of them. So head over to Twitter. Go to @CAPT_LOGUN. Write that down if you haven't gotten me followed on Twitter already. Go over there. Send me your information. Send me like what you don't like. My DMs are open, so you can, if you don't want to do it in a tweet, you can always type it all out and send it in a DM. I get those all the time. Also, you can always send me an email if email's your thing. CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com is the email address for the podcast. Feel free to send me your stories, your thoughts, your queries. All of those are welcome in the email as well. If you have time and you feel like it and you haven't already, Apple Podcasts has a rating system. It helps bring more eyes and more ears to the podcast. It helps make sure that people know that we're out there and that we're listening and that we're sharing our stories and our thoughts on this game. Bringing more attention to the game is great, and I love doing that, especially through the podcast, because this is my forte. This is my strength. Pirates, if all of that is done, if you've done all of that and you're happy with it, but you still want to help me more, I still sell merchandise, the Keelhauled podcast merchandise. There's links in the show notes every week, but I also want you to share this with other pirates as well too. Get their thoughts on it so you guys have something to talk about when you aren't actually sailing, because a lot of the time when you are playing the game, you're with people and you're having a good conversation, but you don't always get that when you're out and about. And I know everyone is staying inside most people are staying inside right now for coconut fever and to make sure that we're keeping a safe ship distance apart from each other. But I want to make sure that if you are out there and you are conversing with others and they do play the game with you, that you have something in common to talk about outside of just your personal experiences. So pirates, thank you. I love you. And I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.
I literally would just send my boat away and like ask them to play a song in memory of my past crewmates. Like I would just come up with stories and get on people's boats, and they're like, you won't get any XP. I'm like, I'm not here for XP, sir. I'm here to help you. I'm part of your crew.